This is Legally Goff, where we mix law, pop culture, and the occasional chaos of real life. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Brooke Goff, lawyer, businesswoman, and professional truth teller. Buckle up, this isn't your grandma's legal podcast. From the courts of Connecticut to the heart of the community, he's more than a baller, he's a builder. This is Rise Up with Matt Conway, where hustle meets heart and stories of resilience take center stage. Get ready to rise up. Welcome to Legally Goff. So next on the show, I want to introduce Matt Conway. He is the founder of Rise Up for the Arts, right? And Matt, I really want you to kind of go into what it is that this company does and a little bit about you and how you got it started.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's the Rise Up group. Rise Up for Arts is, one thing that most people know us for, but this started off as a youth mentoring program for a group of North End Hartford kids. Me and a couple buddies, after we graduated college at UConn, all business degrees, just jumped in and started a mentoring program for high school kids. And a big part of that program was community service. And so in 2016, the kids wanted to do a mural for one of their big community service projects. And there was no entity like Rise Up for Arts exists now for me to call. So I had the company I worked at full-time pay for it, walked into a Goodyear, asked if we could paint a mural on it. And my office building looked down into Heaven Skate Park in downtown Hartford, which is a legal graffiti park. So I went and met with 5 artists there that were willing to work with our kids to make a mural. And that's how the whole mural thing took off, 300, plus projects later. But during that time, corporate America, worked at GE Capital, worked at a pretty large healthcare startup called CareCentrix. And then I finished my corporate time at Cigna. So big project management, strategy, working on, with teams across the country. So being able to apply that skill now to Connecticut and into this community work has been a really great, I think, transition, a skill set to have impact beyond just corporate America.
And when did you start the company?
2012 is when we first started. And it's been super organic. Like, the first group of kids, we weren't expanding by any means because we were just all volunteers. Like, the after school program was at my company's office. We had a computer lab. And so the students I was working with, they were, writing their, papers on their cell phones, like don't have internet at home. So I asked our CEO, like, hey, these are empty computer labs. Can I bring our students in here after school? And that's kind of how Rise Up University was started, and being able to work on the academic piece with the kids.
To kind of step back, what made you do this?
So in college at UConn, I started getting, my whole family's like educators, and so I was the only one that kind of went business route. So there's always been like this community service piece in our blood. But in college, I got involved and ran Huskython, which is an 18-hour dance marathon to raise money for the Children's Hospital. And we became the largest student-run philanthropy in Connecticut. And so during that experience, I'm like, all right, I cannot sell my soul to corporate America and like just do that. So I just started looking for other things, I could be getting involved with. My dad happened to be a principal at Weaver High in the North End, and I had a couple months before I started my job at GE Capital, and he asked if I would come help run a summer program there where we repainted the whole school, and the kids got paid for it. Many of the kids were behind in credit, so they were able to make up credit. And we repainted the school like therapeutic, warm colors, not just like the white and black that it was before. Kids got paid as well. So just a really great experience. But hearing those students call my dad is really what the eye-opener was. I went to public school 20 minutes north of Weaver High and had every resource in front of me imaginable. And to witness this that summer, I, once again, couldn't just sell my soul to corporate America. And that's when I called up a couple of my buddies from UConn, and we got this mentoring thing started.
And how many employees do you guys have currently?
Right now, 2. I'm one full-time. I have one other full-time employee, a lot of contract workers though. So in the different parts of the state, we have like kind of ambassador folks that are on the ground helping to make connections for us, doing volunteer work. A lot of our programs in the school, we'll hire an artist for a 12-week program. So they're not employees, but we've worked with hundreds of artists and other professionals across Connecticut.
Are you an artist?
I am not. So I like to think of myself as being creative. Like I started my first LLC in 8th grade and built a website then, and just as I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. But what I'm most interested in is the community impact that the art can have. And so what I'm good at is bringing all the talented people together to make this incredible stuff happening, from the fundraising, convincing the building owners, getting the community involved, hiring, world-class artists, having all the insurance, so we just had to install 65 Dibond panels, 80 feet up in the air, one by one on an 80-foot lift. So having a team and the infrastructure built in so public art can really thrive in Connecticut is like kind of one of the pieces we've kind of built a niche for.
And what is one of your favorite pieces that you guys have done? As you said, you've done 300 projects,
Yeah.
right?
So a lot in schools, out of schools. There's so many meaningful ones, to be honest with you. Obviously, the one that most people know is probably the Firefly one on 84, which that was cool because it was the biggest mural we had ever done at the time, 6-figure project, a lot of logistics, which were cool to help figure out. Like we realized that the plug for the scaffolding, because it was propelled from the roof, it needed like a dryer plug, and there was no dryer plug there. So me and the artist literally went to the electric shop, bought the right plug, worked with the maintenance guy to install it so we could just keep the project moving. It's those types of challenges that excite me to be a part of these projects.
But so I know the piece you're talking, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's in Hartford,
Yeah.
right? Like, how long did it take you guys to do that?
It was about 2 years of planning.
Wow.
Because we're really intentional with what we want these pieces to say. And if there's too much outside influence, too much control over the artist, or a message we don't think is right, like we'll back away. So, we were working on designs for probably 6 to 7 months with a marketing company that the owners were working with. And the direction they wanted to go just did not feel right for what the city needed. So we stepped away from the project and honestly knew that it couldn't happen without us anyway. A couple months later, building owner reached out directly and was like, "Hey, Matt, want to get this back going again? You'll be working right with me." So then I went out and started fundraising. So I had to go out and raise $150,000 to make that happen too.
Wow. And how do you do it? So one of the hardest parts about doing the type of business you do is the fact that nobody's there to pay you. You
Yeah.
have to raise all the money. So, I don't think enough credit goes to people that actually do this. So why don't you talk about a little bit about some events you guys have or ways in which you're able to raise these funds to do these awesome projects?
Yeah. And so because we started off as this mentoring program, we were competing for grants with, Boys and Girls Club, Big Brother, Big Sister. How are you guys different? So the art pieces really allowed us to be that differentiator now in the state. but it's still a lot of grassroots fundraising. So a lot of our projects are because a group in a community reaches out to us and says, hey, we want to do a mural in our town. They have no idea where to start, how much it costs, don't know any artists. So we literally beginning to end, help them through that process, put together a fundraising strategy, put together sponsorship decks, and really work with that community to kind of dial for dollars, reach out to local businesses, reach out to law firms, reach out to bigger companies or foundations to help fund it. But one of our ways to fund our initiatives that don't require any fundraising is when we actually get hired by like real clients. So actual developers hiring us. So in downtown New Britain on the Brit apartment building, like that was, just a service for hire that Rise Up was able to keep a management fee for. And my eyes opened up to that because Cirque du Soleil reached out in 2019. And this was the first time a private business reached out and said, hey, we want to do a mural and we have a budget to pay you. And so I connected with one of the artists that we've worked with before, Corey Payne, who's a really well-known artist from West Hartford, did the one on the side of the library here in West Hartford, and told him the budget. And he's like, all right, give me 10 and you guys keep 5. And no artist had ever offered us anything back before. So it really grew our relationship together because then, knowing the respect he had for the work we were doing, I would go out and, help get him projects knowing that Rise Up would help be funded through that. And so that's kind of a model we've grown on to just help make money without having to get grants. But we've also started a couple other social enterprises. So we're a fully licensed and insured general contracting company. We hire second chance and housing insecure individuals. And we're like literally squad right now installing a $20,000, patio in West Hartford. We do all the maintenance and snow removal at Parkville Market. So we're able to employ all of these folks and help them find housing, help them, with their addiction recovery without having to beg for money all the time. It doesn't, supplement it enough, but we've just become really creative because me and my board's background is all business. How can we use that skill for the community and get more resources to places that need it the most?
What did you bring?
Yeah,
Tell us what this is about.
Two things here. A lot of the murals that we do are extremely meaningful for the community and almost serve as memorials. So I just wanted to share a plaque that's going up in Weathersfield. And this is a mural that is honoring a firefighter that passed away during the wildfires last year. So Robert Sharkovitz goes by Sharky. So this is the type of stories that we like to tell through our public art, more than just making stuff beautiful, but really helping to tell stories of people that deserve it and really making them a role model, for people in the community. So now everyone's, when they go into the community center, they're going to see this man smiling, putting a fireman hat on another kid. And have that joyful memory of him. And so that's one of the things that we love about this work. And this doesn't say much, but this is an Able Table plaque. And so this is another initiative that's kind of social enterprise built where some of it's grant funded, but folks also purchase it. It's a handicap accessible picnic table called the Able Table. The unique part is the handicap piece is in the middle on both sides. So instead of delegating someone to the end of the table, we make sure everybody has a seat at the table. Also great for wheelchair or strollers. And how we've constructed it, there's no bars. So even elderly people or someone in crutches, they don't have to step over anything. And they're constructed by adults with disability And we hire local artists to wrap the tables with artwork. And so this is especially special to me because I had a daughter that passed away in 2022, 2 weeks after I left my full-time job to do Rise Up full-time, who was very disabled in a wheelchair. She went to the Jangra Center right here in West Hartford, passed away on Thanksgiving. And there was one of our partners in East Windsor. We were working on a grant to do art in one of the parks. And her name is Debbie Williams, and she, was Googling different designs of tables, and there was nothing wrapped in artwork or anything like that. And I'm not saying we invented this structure, like, you can Google and see it. But the way we've manipulated it is it's unique on its own. But when she came to me with this idea to do this, handicap picnic table in East Windsor Park and wrap it with artwork, I'm like, this is it. So a week after my daughter passed away, I was driving on Route 20 in East Granby, sitting at one of the lights, and I just threw up into the universe, like, God, let me use my platform to honor Sinai in some way, work and help kids that, were like her and suffering. And so a couple months later, this opportunity lands on my lap to be a part of and build. And so right away, I was like, this needs to be more than just one or two. So now we've scaled it all across the state, made it the Able Table. Able Solutions is also, so we're going all ADA now, kind of as an arm, as a social enterprise, doing consulting work with ADA stuff, but the Able Table is the product. So the city of Bridgeport bought 5 of them. That's why I was down there earlier today. We just dedicated a second one at Blueback Square on Tuesday when we unveiled a mural there as well. So we're trying to get these out to every community in Connecticut and beyond, because not only is it a functional piece of artwork, but it means inclusivity. It's a symbol for that community that all are welcome here. Because most times there's not even any picnic table that has any kind of handicap accessibility.
Do you get any federal funding at all?
No federal funding, very, very little state funding. I think we may have gotten like $650 from the state last year. This is all just grind, hustle, contracts with schools. So, we work with over 1,000 kids a year. So I've developed a leadership program that we take into schools, and the kids are part of not only some of these mural projects, but one group built Trashketball, which they were solving a litter problem in Manchester. And from prototype to getting the power tools out, we made a basketball hoop on top of a trash can that then they presented to the mayor, town manager, sustainability office, that it's now at a basketball court, because one of the students who plays at that court's like, there's bottles everywhere and there's a trash bin right over there. So, these kids through brainstorming came up with this solution, and we were just there as adults to kind of guide them through the process. And at the beginning, their heads are down, barely introducing themselves. At the end, they're standing and demonstrating this in front of the mayor, so being able to see that transformation in a kid in 12 weeks, 15 weeks is pretty powerful.
So doing this for it's about 13 years now?
Yeah. Yep.
How many kids do you think you've had involved in the program?
There's thousands at this point, especially, there's some kids that are with us almost their whole life, right? Like one of the first girls in the first girl in our program, she was a junior at Weaver High School. And here she saw, a bunch of baby-faced young dudes with suits, talking to her about college and all, job and all that kind of stuff. So she challenged us. And one of the most powerful things she said to us was, we have organizations like yours come into our school all the time, and then they're gone in 2 weeks. And this is just a cyclical, nonprofit industrial complex that happens. And because we were just doing this as volunteers, like there was nothing stopping us. Even when GE sent me to Dallas, I was flying home once a month to still work with these kids. And so we sat down with her, talked a lot with her. Fast forward to today, she's a board member of ours and is the president of the Black Bar Association in Connecticut. Moved her into college all 4 years, helped her transfer from West Springfield's Western New England law to UConn law. And she, was a green card immigrant that came here from Jamaica. So we have stories like that where we're really hand-holding, working, inspiring someone their whole life and their families. And then we have programs where, a bunch of kids come out and just help paint one of the murals, one day. And then 5 years down the road, they can point to it and say, hey, I helped paint that and make my town more beautiful. So there's a lot of different levels to the level of support we give people, but I think our work has touched thousands. Just anyone driving down 84.
Say thousands, you're probably in the millions mark at this point.
Yeah.
So back to the Able Table.
Yeah.
How does that work? Are people sponsoring a table? How does that work for you guys?
Yeah, so people either sponsor it or purchase it, or municipality buys it. So the one in Blueback was sponsored by Amplify and DCF. The ones in Bridgeport, City of Bridgeport, sponsored all of them. I have two in Stamford that First Presbyterian Church gave us a grant to do them there. We've been in talks with Henkel, the big company, for way too long. But they were going to buy one for one of their headquarters. So it's a lot of different ways.
Are they expensive?
They're $5,000, but these are like top of the line quality, going to last 20 plus years. And the artwork on it alone, is that valuable. And the process we go, do with the artwork, it's going to last for 20 plus years as well, with the process and coding we put on them.
So I'm still stuck on the federal and state funding. I'm sorry to tell you, I'm still stuck. So is it that you guys don't know how to apply for it, or it's that you guys haven't been able to get it?
It's a tricky, a little bit of both. Like I know how to apply for it. A lot of those grants, come out. We've been too small in a sense, and I just started full time to November 2022. So before that, it was like $50,000 a year, and so the state's not going to give you significant money if you're not raising that money. So now we're finally up, close to the $1 million revenue mark. Wow. Where now we are being looked at, right, and have that more of a reputation. And sometimes those federal grants, they're not worth the, what you're responsible for with them. You could do a lot more with kind of some donations, local funding, than being trapped, with a federal NEA grant or something like that. And those processes take so long that I'm always on the go. So I need to be thinking about funding a project next month, not waiting for this NEA grant to be an 18-month process before getting a check.
Got it. It seems that what you're doing is so great for the communities that you're in that I can't imagine. I mean, we open the newspaper all the time and we see, hey, this one got money for this. And sometimes I scratch my head and I'm like, I get it, but why? Yeah. Or they got $15 million and you're like, for what? I'm not taking any kind of celebration from people that get them, but it really seems like the biggest problem with your current organization is enough people don't know about you. And that's what needs to get the word out. That's why I was asking about the grants and the funding and everything else, because it seems like it's a very, very, very powerful cause that you guys stand for. And like these able tables, like we all either have family or know someone or what have you that would, I mean, these people constantly feel like a burden to everybody in their society. There's, they can't get in and out of cars the correct way. They need ramps to get into a house. They can't sit at a table like everybody else. And if you talk to these people, they'll tell you they feel like a burden. That's why they don't ask for anything.
Yeah.
So to see what you guys are doing and to see your personal connection with it, it just seems like you shouldn't have as hard of a time as you're having.
I
raising
agree.
that money.
Yeah.
I mean,
please.
We did this huge projection mapping thing, the largest projection mapping show other than the Dome in Las Vegas, on the back of the Frontier Building, which faces 84. So huge display. Governor was there, mayor was there, all the politicians were there. I turned on this giant light switch we made with the governor. He's like, yes, we have to fund this because it's going to be about $1 million to get the technology we need to have this going full time. This was just a 3-night rental. So I literally even say, I've been reminding him and his office about the news clip that even says, we got to find funding for this. And I just haven't had the right luck in getting into the room. I'm in a lot of rooms, but some of them that, I'm confused as to why we aren't. Like Hartford Foundation for Public Giving just announced $6 million in funding for arts and culture. Rise Up is literally the #1 producer of public art and culture in Hartford.
Are you on that list?
We weren't even called. Didn't even know about it until someone sent us a press release about it. I don't know if that is purposeful because of a lot of different political reasons in the city. So I'm wake up every morning and just fight for every dollar and get as creative as we can until, something kind of gives. Positive thing, full circle, had an interview at Weaver High School this week to be their community school partner, which that is a $250,000+ contract, which would, something like that gives us that next level of stability where I don't have to run around to 40 different towns just to be able to pay our bills. So we're kind of moving in that direction of getting these bigger contracts. So also we're in the prison system now. We're going to be starting a program at the youth prison over in Garner, which is the mental health, and then York down in Niantic. So we're moving up in that direction. It's just been a grind getting here, which I think every founder, can understand and appreciate. It's really been 2022 since I've been able to put full pedal to the metal, and that included death of a daughter, 2 kids, miscarriages. So I think we're on the right path, and it's platforms like this that I'm grateful for that do help us get the word out and hear about the work we're doing. Because I'm out doing the work, as much as I am.
I was going to ask about the vets.
Yeah.
No, I asked him already. Yeah. So the grind, you put it perfectly from one founder to another. The grind is everything, because if you're not grinding, you're not growing.
Yeah.
And comfort is death. And that's what I was taught. I strongly believe in it. But, there comes a time where I promise you the juice is worth the squeeze. It sounds like you're kind of in that in-between point.
Yeah.
I think this is great. I think what you guys are doing is great. It sounds like you're saving a lot of kids, which I think is so great, because you are in places where my wife is a juvenile judge, and we have some conversations in the household, and I'll tell you, the one thing I always say is that all these kids that come before her was a ball and 5 minutes for somebody to give a shit. Mm-hmm. And you're that 5 minutes of giving a shit. So I'm 1,000% in full favor of what you're doing. I think it's great. I think that, the more the word gets out, the better it is. And we'll obviously do our part here to spread the word and try to help you out. So
Thank you.
100%.
Yes, it was great.
we appreciate you guys coming in. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you.